These are just very simple parts of the horse that you should know if you own a horse or are working with horses. It's very important to understand where different things are on the horse. That way, if you have to call your vet out and there's something wrong with the horse, you can explain to them where it is on the horse. If you say, oh, the horse hurt its leg, then the vet has no idea what exactly is wrong with the horse or have any idea what they might be working with. If you say that, he hurt his side, well, where on his side? Okay guys, so today I want to do a video on the basic horse anatomy. It's also good to understand a horse's anatomy, that way you know how a horse moves and why they move in the way that they do. And also it's good to understand where things are on the horse, that way when you are putting on different pieces of tack, you know where those pieces are supposed to go if someone were to explain it to you. So I'm going to start with the head first, which is why I'm in front of Bugsy. So, the very obvious ones are the eye, the ear, the nose, the mouth. And Bugsy thinks I have treats every time that I put my hand by her mouth, which is why she's doing this. But so, from the top of the nostril to the bottom of the chin, that's the horse's entire muzzle. So then you have the upper lip, the lower lip, and this little triangular bit is their chin. Behind that little triangle, there's what's called the chin groove. You can't really see it on Bugsy because her beard is in the way. So then you have the forehead, which Bugsy loves to have her forehead scratched. That's her favorite place. And then this bit of mane here is the forelock. And then you have the poll between their ears. Then you have the bridle path where the crown piece and to the bridle and the halter sit. So then the top of their neck is the crest. This is obviously her mane. The reason why you can't see the rest of the mane over here is because it's on the other side of Bugsy. Because her mane does a weird flip on the other side. So then you have their neck. This piece here, where you tighten up the throat latch of the bridle, is the throat latch of the horse. And you have their jugular and their throat. So then you have the chest, where the breast collar would go. And then you have their entire shoulder here. Now, Bugsy looks kind of sweaty because we just went for a ride, so that's why she has curly and matted down spots. Step forward. So then you can see there's a triangle here. That's the point of shoulder. So then back here you have the elbow, which is the first real bend in the leg. Then you have the upper arm, which comes down into the knee. And then you have the cannon bone and the fetlock joint. I'm going to come down closer to their feet so that I can show you the lower part of the foot in a little bit. So then you have their withers. Some horses have higher withers than others. It kind of depends on their conformation. Bugsy has a fairly average to short wither. Some horses have very tall withers, some have relatively short withers, and then others have just an average size. So then coming into their back, you have the back itself, and their barrel is their entire stomach, and then you have their belly on the bottom. Right behind the elbow is the heart girth, which is where the girth of a saddle goes, or a cinch, depending on the style you're working with. So then you come up and you get to the hips, and right where this makes a point is the point of hip. So then you have the croup, which is where this little bit of where their back starts to drop down. And their point of buttock is where it comes to another point. There are a lot of points on horses. Where their tail starts is called the dock, and then obviously you have your tail. So then coming down off the hip, you have the stifle. Then you have the gaskin, which some horses, depending on how muscular your horse is, can be much more pronounced, or on Bugsy, it's not as obvious. So then where the leg comes out, that's the hock. And then you come down and you get to your other cannon bone and your fetlock joint again. Oh, you can see her feet. I just realized you can't actually see her feet. So if we come back down to her foot here, this part underneath the fetlock joint where their foot bends is called the pastern. And then you have the cornet band, which is where the hair meets the hoof. And then you have the hoof itself. Also, some horses have what's called an ergot. And that ergot will be right on the bottom of the fetlock joint. Bugsy has one. And then I'm not sure if the camera is able to see it, but there is a small growth on the inside of a horse's leg. It almost looks sort of like a callus. That's called the chestnut. Some people say to squeeze that to pick a horse's foot up. I personally don't like doing that because it does actually cause them a little bit of pain. If you squeeze it down at the bottom. If you squeeze the end of it, it doesn't really have any feeling because it's all hardened tissue. So those are all the parts of the horse that are the basic ones that you should know if you have a horse or if you're working with horses. The anatomy is fairly simple and fairly straightforward. There are a couple of things that if you understand parts of tack, you'll understand the parts of the horse itself. So I hope that helped, guys.